Well, in the end, they were just two. It is Rajasthan versus Gujarat. Indian T20 League का final. ये लड़ाई है आन बान और शान की. It's happening at the Narendra Modi Stadium, Ahmedabad. आप सब अपनी टीवी से चिपक के बैठ जाइए, लेकिन फिलहाल आप हमारे चैनल से चिपके हुए हैं. ये है क्रिक ट्रैकर एंड दिस इज इट्स नॉट जस्ट क्रिकेट पावर्ड बाय स्काई 247.net. इससे पहले कि स्टेडियम भरे, हमारा ऑडियंस यहाँ पे चकाचक भरा हुआ है. देयर आर एक्सपर्ट्स. It's a packed stadium, if I may say, packed windows. We've got Nikkhil Chopraa, Wasim Jaffer, Niall O'Brien. I'm Ridhima Pathak. Let's kick the show. क्योंकि मैच जो है बहुत ही धमाकेदार होने वाला है, इसलिए we've got to talk a lot and there are a lot of things to be discussed. But straight up, let's start with Nikhil sir. Okay.
ये I can understand where you're coming from, रिद्धिमा. वो जो ऊर्जा निकल रही है ना, वो यहाँ तक पहुंच रही है. उसका एक बहुत बड़ा कारण ये भी है, आमिर खान यहाँ स्टूडियो में हमारे साथ, वहां रणवीर परफॉर्म कर रहा है. सो ये अद्भुत है. 1,32,000 का स्टेडियम, टाटा आईपीएल का जो ये फाइनल मुकाबला इस प्रतियोगिता का, आई मीन इट इज, मतलब वो खूनों में से ना वो उबाल निकल रहा है. एवरीबडी इज जस्ट एक्साइटेड टू सी दैट फाइनल.
जी हाँ, आज है फाइनल 2022 के इंडियन टी20 लीग का. लेकिन निखिल, व्हाट इज द नाइट बिफोर द फाइनल लाइक एज अ प्लेयर? आई मीन कैसा होता है? क्या क्या बोलते हैं टीम वाले? किस तरीके के नर्व्स होते हैं? What are your leaders telling you? What is the night before the final like?
सब ये कहते हैं कि शांत रहें, आराम से सो, इट्स जस्ट अनदर गेम, रात को नींद अच्छी आएगी. पर ये सब कहने की बात है. सच्चाई में नींद नहीं आती है, ये मैं आपको बता रहा हूं. क्योंकि यू नो द एड्रेनालिन स्टार्ट्स पंपिंग एक रात पहले से, कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं. वो विजुअलाइजेशन रहता है कि भाई सब कुछ आप पूरा प्रतियोगिता भूल जाइए, लेकिन अंत में वो फाइनल मुकाबले में आप कोई गलती नहीं करना चाहते. और ये तो 120 गेंदों का फॉर्मेट है. वैसे ही गलती की गुंजाइश जो है ना, बहुत कम रहती है. आप किसी को दरवाजे में एक पैर डालने देंगे, वो दरवाजा तोड़ देता. सो ऑल द मोर, बट जस्ट द एक्साइटमेंट. और मजे की बात क्या, देखिए पहला एडिशन कौन जीता? राजस्थान. गुजरात पहली बारी ये टीम आई है, उसके साथ वो फाइनल मुकाबला होगा. तो क्या मतलब, यू कुडंट हैव इमेजिन्ड दिस. ये मतलब स्क्रिप्ट राइटर भी नहीं सोच सकता था.
That's the thing about sports, right? It's the best script ever written. वसीम, डेब्यूटेंट्स गुजरात और राजस्थान दूसरी बार फाइनल्स में आए. पहली बार तब था जब इनॉग्रल सीजन था. ये एक्चुअली बहुत बड़ी चीज है. दोनों लीडरशिप टीम जो होगी दोनों टीम्स की, क्या बोल रहे होंगे अपनी टीम मेंबर्स को? 14 साल का वेट रहा है राजस्थान के लिए.
जी हाँ, बिल्कुल. वो 2008 के बाद में रिद्धिमा, मेरे ख्याल से ये सीजन होगा जो इतना सक्सेसफुल होगा. Otherwise, Rajasthan has not been, that successful a team. जैसे हमने पिछले बार भी बोला था कि they've always had a very, very good team, but they have not performed. But this year has been a revolution, right from the auction to executing their plans and the way they have played, the way Sanju Samson has led, Kumar Sangakkara has marshaled his troops from outside. And the kind of team they picked the specialist right at the top in the batters and in the bowlers. So they haven't got many all-rounders there, but that has worked for them. Something which doesn't happen in many T20s teams. You need all-rounders. LSG has that, but they were not successful. So I mean, this has worked for Rajasthan. Sanju Samson as a captain has been a revolution. So I really feel happy for Sanju. That he's done so well. He batted really well. Joss has been exceptional, and this has been a season for them. After even losing from the qualifier, winning those two important games, they have been, apart from Gujarat, they have been the most successful.
Indeed, they have. Niall, I mean, it's going to be a record crowd when it comes to the history of cricket being played in India, 130,000 plus audience. And the interesting thing is that both these teams do not have too much experience when it comes to performing the finals, where Rajasthan is only coming to the second time, Gujarat is the first time. So clearly, whichever team feeds off that energy is the one to go forward. Which team would that be for you?
Well, yeah, listen, incredible numbers. You speak about like 130,000. I can only imagine like the MCG, seeing a packed MCG in Melbourne, maybe 95,000. So
85,000.
this is going to be an absolutely unbelievable, epic encounter. You know, I've played in domestic finals when I've seen players that I've played with wilt under the pressure, players that have played well all tournament, and all of a sudden you get to the biggest of big occasions, and you see guys and you look them in your eye in the dressing room and you just see they're vacant. So it's going to be really, really important that the 11 that take the field for both the sides really do, embrace the atmosphere. I think that's the most important thing I would say to any of these young players and players with less experience. Embrace the opportunity, see it as an opportunity, because you may never get this chance again. As kind of dour as that might sound, you may never get a chance to play in as big a game again. So it's a chance to make yourself an absolute hero. I suppose for the newbies, we should call them, Gujarat, they're going to have the majority of the crowd behind them. So that's going to be a massive factor. That could give them an extra 15, 20 runs potentially, just with that kind of the energy, the passion, the hostility, if you want to call it that, for the opposition potentially. But then, you look at Rajasthan, they've been to the final a long time ago. That wonderful occasion all those years ago, they've won it, and they've played on this ground fairly recently. So just an epic encounter, really. It's kind of what you dream of as a cricketer. Some of these players will have dreamt of this moment, and to go out and play. And maybe I often find finals, it's an unsung hero. It's something that probably, we'll talk about Butler and we'll talk about Rashid Khan. Often finals throw up an absolute unknown who's maybe been a little bit quiet and just comes out of the woodwork and wins a game. So, yeah, it should be a belter, a cracking game, two brilliant sides.
Indeed, I'm just like a little, I've not had enough sleep because I've been watching back-to-back finals. Whether this is a Champions League finals, there's another final tonight. It's going to be a lot of finals coming our way. But having said that, Nikhil, I mean, Gujarat has already been there. They've played their last game 5 days back. You've got Rajasthan on the other hand, जो कि day before yesterday वो अपना qualify 2 खेल के आ रहे हैं. Does this play a factor जहाँ पे गुजरात को काफी रेस्ट मिला है या फिर उनका मोमेंटम ब्रेक हुआ है? किस तरीके से देखेंगे आप इस ब्रेक को?
क्योंकि जिस तरीके से वो मुकाबले जीतते आए हैं, मुझे लगता है वो शायद वो एक वेलकम ब्रेक हो सकता है. आई अंडरस्टैंड वेयर यू आर कमिंग फ्रॉम कि राजस्थान रॉयल पिछला मुकाबला जो बड़े करीबी वो मुकाबला जीत के आ रही है, मोमेंटम साथ में है, वो जॉस द बॉस कड़ाकेदार फॉर्म है और तुरंत अगला मैच है. बट कई बार वो एक 2-3 दिन का आराम ना एक टीम को वो रीग्रुप करने को वो मौका मिल जाता है. और साथ में आप बहुत करीब से और कोई प्लान हो तो आप और अच्छे से वो योजना बना सकते हैं कि भाई इस बॉलर ने इस बैट्समैन को यहाँ पे गेंद डाली, इसलिए ये प्लान इनका नहीं वर्क किया, हमारा प्लान क्या होगा. सो इट गिव्स यू अ लिटिल मोर टाइम टू रीथिंक योर स्ट्रेटजी. और मजे की बात ये पूरे सीजन गुजरात को आप देखें ना, एक 2-2 मुकाबला, मतलब एक 2-2 खिलाड़ी सिर्फ आपको मुकाबले जीतते नहीं चलेंगे. जब जरूरत रही किसी ना किसी खिलाड़ी ने वो अपना हाथ उठा के कहा कि यार आज मेरा दिन है, मैं मुकाबला जिताऊंगा. दैट इज हाउ यू गेट योर मैच विनर्स. तभी एक टीम को अगर आप ब्रेक डाउन करते हैं ना, एक टीम में 6 बल्लेबाज और 5 गेंदबाज रहते हैं, 6 में से 2 बल्लेबाज जब एक स्टार्ट मिलता है वो मुकाबला खत्म करते हैं. दैट हैज बीन द हॉलमार्क फॉर गुजरात. वो 2 गेंदों में 13 रन बनाने, राहुल टिवाटिया है, डेविड मिलर इसी राजस्थान के खिलाफ, वो प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा के खिलाफ जो उन्होंने अद्भुत बल्लेबाजी की थी. सो कहीं ना कहीं से वो जीत का फॉर्मूला ढूंढ के लेके आ रहे हैं और हर मुकाबले में लगभग अलग अलग खिलाड़ी. सो ये बड़ी खतरनाक टीम है. और 1,32,000 लोग पीछे हो रिद्धिमा, तो वो खून का उबाल जो होता है ना वो अलग ही होता है जब वो ढोल नगाड़ा बजेगा. सो इल बी एक्साइटिंग, ऊर्जा भरा, इनक्रेडिबल.
But the state of Rajasthan is not very far away from Gujarat. काफी होंगे.
बिल्कुल. I mean, obviously you will expect that Gujarat will have more supporters. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, people from Rajasthan would have traveled. This is probably the most you will witness any, kind of capacity. Nowhere near we would have seen 120, 30,000 people in one cricket ground. So this is the massive occasion. And I hope Rajasthan copes that pressure. I mean, that is something you want. Like Niall said, the unsung heroes. We've seen with Riddhiman Saha when he got that 100 in 2014 final. Manish Pandey did that. Manvinder Bisla did that. You want those youngsters, those uncapped players to, rise to that occasion. So, this is a great opportunity. When you do well in this occasion, that shows your temperament and you get noticed. So I hope we get to see some of those performances today.
Well, I'm just hoping that the play is not delayed because of the late arrival of the fans in the finals of the Indian T20 League. Having said that, now let's talk about, Gujarat. Gujarat has had many clutch matches, and somehow we've seen many match winners from this side, different match winners, but Rajasthan is not very far away. So will it be fair to say that Rajasthan's batting is heavily dependent on Butler, or do they have a very balanced side?
No, I think it's very difficult to get to the final of any tournament if your team isn't balanced. It's you'll be found out along the way. So Butler has had an extraordinary season. Season like no other really. But you look at Sanju's played so well. I think he's played well, striking at close to 150. So they've played quite nicely. Joss has got good support right through the lineup. Even Ravi Ashwin has chipped in with bat in hand. So, when someone gets over 800 runs, obviously he's going to take all the headlines. Hetmar, for example, what a great signing he was. So, I'm happy. I'm happy if I'm in the Rajasthan camp. I'm happy with my batting lineup. As I said, someone like Hetmar is crucial, really, because he comes in at that difficult position and strikes well. He's a six-hitter. Match winners 7, match winners 8. No real surprise there. To get to the final, to win a tournament, you have to win from any position. And we're seeing that from both of these sides. So I think Rajasthan are nicely balanced. But Butler is the key. Butler is the key. There's no doubt about it. Butler is obviously the key. But I think they've got plenty of batting, and as I said, the skipper has been great. Hetmar, I think Hetmar batting that 5 or 6 position, it's the most difficult position in T20 cricket. Both these sides have a kind of world-class natural 6-hitter, Miller, and obviously Hetty.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. Butler, he was the man who pulverized their batting even against Bangalore, and that's how they've climbed themselves into the finals against Gujarat. But Nikhil, जो हमने graphics देखा वहाँ पर, जो different match winners हैं दोनों teams के लिए, एक तरफ है गुजरात के लिए 8 और दूसरी तरफ राजस्थान के लिए 7, दोनों में ज्यादा फर्क नहीं है. तो कड़ाके का मुकाबला होने वाला है. और अगर मैं यहाँ पे पूछ सकूं कि आज आपको क्या लगता है कि कौन होगा मैच विनर? Will it be another one?
मैच विनर देखिए, मेरे लिए आपके जो अनुभवी खिलाड़ी हैं उनका वो काम करना बहुत जरूरी है. जॉस बटलर राजस्थान रॉयल्स के लिए वो मेरे लिए वो गोंद है जो पूरे बैटिंग ऑर्डर को जोड़ के रखते हैं, क्योंकि वो अगर अपने हिसाब से परफॉर्म करते हैं, इफ ही सर्व्स इट हॉट एंड पाइपिंग, जो परफॉर्मेंसेस करते आ रहे हैं, फिर वो मुकाबला एक तरफ हो जाता है. फिर उनको कोई आप रोक नहीं पाते. लेकिन अगर उनका बल्ला नहीं वो चलता तो फिर जिम्मेदारी संजू सैमसन की, क्योंकि उनके पास वो कला है उस किस्म से बल्लेबाजी करने की. लेकिन वो 40, 50, 150 का स्ट्राइक, 200 का स्ट्राइक, वहां पे गाड़ी रुक जाती है. वो 100-90 नहीं लगा पा रहे. तो मेरे लिए ये बड़ा आपका इंटरेस्टिंग सवाल है, क्योंकि जो गेंदबाजी है, गेंदबाजी गुजरात की बड़ी खतरनाक है. 4 तेज गेंदबाज आपके पास हैं, साथ में बीच में आके राशिद है, और ये एक ऐसा गेंदबाज है जो हाल में दोबारा लय में आया. वो स्टंप्स को नहीं छोड़ता. आप अगर बटलर को आप शांत रखते हैं या शुरुआत में आउट कर लेते हैं तो फिर गाड़ी फंसती है. संजू सैमसन को आप कैसे गेंदबाजी करेंगे, आप उसके बाद देवदत्त पडिक्कल को किस तरीके से करेंगे, शिमरन हेटमायर को मारने नहीं देंगे क्योंकि उनके लिए वो लाइन अलग कर देते हैं. तो योजना बड़ी वो मजेदार रहती है. सो मेरे लिए आई थिंक हार्दिक मेरे लिए एक वो मेन की होंगे जो पूरी बैटिंग ऑर्डर को जोड़ के रखेंगे, क्योंकि रिद्धिमान साहा, शुभमन गिल तो वो पावर प्ले, उनका जो योजना है कि वो 6 ओवर आपने कड़ाकेदार हिसाब से करना है. बट मुकाबले खत्म कौन कर रहा है? वो हार्दिक और मिलर नीचे आके, और अगर जरूरत पड़ी तो टिवाटिया तो है, बट बीच की कड़ी जो है ना, वो कप्तान साहब है, कप्तान हार्दिक गुजरात के लिए किस तरीके से वो 4 नंबर पे आके बल्लेबाजी करते हैं, वो मेरे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रहेगा। और इधर से ऑफ कोर्स जॉस द बॉस।
जी, नहीं फैक्टर्स हैं दोनों टीम्स के लिए, और ऑफ कोर्स जो बड़े नाम है दोनों टीम्स की तरफ से वसीम, उन बड़े नामों को आज परफॉर्म करना बहुत जरूरी है इस फाइनल स्टेज पर। लेकिन अगर हम रेगुलर गेम्स की बात करें तो दोनों ही गेम्स गुजरात के फेवर में गए थे। राजस्थान had lost both the games. Will that be a factor at all? ये क्वालिफायर 1 की हम दिखा रहे हैं, ऑफ कोर्स इंडियन T20 लीग 2022 जब राजस्थान 188 for 6, गुजरात won the match 191 for 3, जहाँ पे किलर द मिलर 68 नॉट आउट, ऑफ कोर्स वो आज एक बहुत बड़े फैक्टर होने वाले हैं। और ये जो मैच नंबर 24 था जहाँ पे गुजरात जीता था 192 for 4, अगेन हार्दिक पांड्या थे उस पर्टिकुलर इनिंग्स के बादशाह जहाँ पे 87 नॉट आउट, और फिर ऑफ कोर्स डेविड मिलर ने अंत में आके जो छक्के चौके जड़े थे। तो मिलर तो ऑफ कोर्स इज अ बिग फैक्टर, लेकिन क्या ये गेम्स जो दोनों गेम्स गुजरात जीते हैं, डज दैट प्ले ऑन योर माइंड एट ऑल व्हेन यू एंटर टू द फाइनल्स? या आप दोनों बार हार चुके हैं इस टीम से?
I think so. I think obviously Gujarat have won both. I mean, पहले बैटिंग करके भी जीते हैं और फिर चेस करके भी जीते हैं. So that goes on to show कि उनकी versatility कितनी अच्छी है. They posed a big score 192 in that first game and they defended it really well. And then they chased down 188 in the qualifier, which is again a very big score, and they chased down pretty comfortably, 3 wickets down. And one thing you have got to notice, Ridhima, in both the games, Josh Butler has performed. And even then, Rajasthan have lost. So they need some support, from Sanju Samson, from Yashasvi, from Devdutt, and the other guy, Shimran Hetmeyer. They need to come as well. You can't just depend on Josh Butler alone, because he's performed, and they've lost both the games pretty comfortably. And UG and Ash have been, they've shared only 1 wicket between them in the qualifier and in the eliminator. So they haven't been at their best. So they've got to bring their A game into this. On the other hand, Rashid has been brilliant, even though he hasn't picked up wickets, but he's been economical and he's put on pressure, for the other bowlers. So in that regard, Rajasthan have to, step up. They can't just rely on Josh, the boss, because he's been phenomenal right throughout the season. But the other guys need to step up as well, because you're playing against Gujarat, who's on a roll. So, if you post big score, you can't just sit back and think, we are going to have it easy. It's not going to be easy. So the other guys need to step up along with Josh. Josh need to have a bigger say also in this game.
Yeah.
बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग बड़ा एक इंटरेस्टिंग आंकड़ा है जो आप बात कर रहे थे ना कि कौन परफॉर्म करना जरूरी रहेगा। सिर्फ पिछला मुकाबला राजस्थान के लिए वो बेंगलोर के खिलाफ वो जीते हैं, नहीं तो आंकड़े उनके ना वो 48 गेंदें स्पिन की अश्विन और चहल की, जब वो 3 से ज्यादा विकेट ले रहे थे तो वो 8 में से 8 वो मुकाबले जीत रहे। सो वो 48 गेंदें बीच में स्पिनर्स की वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होंगी। और पिछले कुछ मुकाबलों में जो गलती हो रही थी शायद संजू सैमसन से कि उन दोनों को इकट्ठे नहीं गेंदबाजी आप करा रहे थे बीच में, क्योंकि आपने 5 गेंदबाजों को रोटेट करना है। बीच में अगर आप दोनों को इकट्ठा कराएंगे ना, उससे 2 चीजें होती हैं। एक तो दोनों किफायती गेंदबाजी करते हैं और मार नहीं खाते। जब 2 लगातार ओवर्स में रन नहीं आते तो आप बैट्समैन को मजबूर करते हैं वो बड़ी हिट मारने जाए, और ये दोनों बहुत ही अनुभवी गेंदबाज है, वहां पे वो विकेट्स मिलती हैं। सो आई होप कि इन दोनों का इस्तेमाल जो है ना वो थोड़ी सी और चतुराई से करें संजू सैमसन, वो ये महत्वपूर्ण रहेगा।
Yeah, Niall, just to explain this to you, I was speaking in Hindi, but what
Sorry, Niall.
Nikhil is saying, the role of the spinners, especially from the Rajasthan squad, because when they perform is when Rajasthan go ahead and of course win it. But having said that, before we go ahead, both these teams are eyeing the crown, but there is a new Guinness World Record that has been set at the Motera Stadium. World's largest jersey has been presented at the world's largest stadium. So that's a new world record that has been, of course, set at the stadium on the final day of the Indian T20 League 2022. But having said that, Niall, where you've got Gujarat who are the debutants, don't you think Rajasthan's story has been rather poetic? And they have dedicated this entire journey to Shane Warne. They have spoken about the factor of how Shane Warne's DNA is running into the team. You've got the likes of Ashish Nehra and you've got Sanju Samson, and of course there's a leadership team in place. But always, right from the inaugural season, the DNA that Shane Warne's left behind, that is what Rajasthan has dedicated this entire journey to. Would that be an added factor? Would that be an emotional touch to inspire them to go out and play their hearts out today in the field?
Definitely, 100%. Warney was a very infectious character. When you rub shoulders and spend time with him, you had a smile on your face. So, they'll be walking out today to the field, all these Rajasthan players, and a lot of them will look to the skies. I'm sure they'll say a little prayer, and there's probably a big Shane Warne poster as they leave the dressing room. So absolutely, this will give them added incentive if they needed it. But people like Sangakkara, who will be very close with Shane Warne for a long time, playing with and against him and working with him. But you have to keep the emotions in check. It's very important. In a final, and Nikkhil was saying, the manager will be saying last night, it's only another game of cricket. the old jargon. It's impossible to just think it's another game of cricket, because it isn't. This is the biggest game some of these guys will ever play.
It isn't. Yeah.
When you chuck in a little bit extra,
you cannot listen to anybody trying to say I'm going to have a good night's sleep, I'm going to treat it like another game. It doesn't happen. Trust you me. When we play India, Pakistan is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it will give them extra incentive, 100%. And if Rajasthan go on to win this tournament, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that'll be delighted, with the memory of Shane Warne. But in saying that, they've got a stiff test here, because the newcomers Gujarat are a very, very fine side. So it's all emotion, but once you get on the pitch, you got to stare that bowler down and take him down. You got to put the bowler under pressure as a batter, and as a bowler, you got to take out the opposition. The power plays are massive in this. In the finals, the power play, you got to start well. You got to get off to a good start with bat and with ball.
Yeah, of course, Nikhil mentioned India Pakistan. I feel that this particular final is also the birth of a brand new rivalry between these two teams. So it's going to be rather interesting to see how they go up against each other in the future years to come of this the Indian T20 League. Having said that, Nikhil, we're talking about these two teams where Rajasthan's come to the finals after 2008. You've got Gujarat as the debutants, but talk about the captains, Hardik Pandya, Sanju Samson. दोनों ही कैप्टन के लिए पहली बारी है कि ये फाइनल्स पे खेल रहे हैं. ये काफी इमोशनल जर्नी रही होगी इन दोनों के लिए. एज अ कैप्टन, इन दोनों में से किसने आपको ज्यादा इम्प्रेस किया है?
देखिए, संजू बहुत शांत है, बट मेरा मानना, मैं थोड़ा सा टिल्ट करता हूँ हार्दिक की तरफ. चाहे उनके वो 453 रन है, वो बल्लेबाजी में औसत बढ़िया है, 4 अर्धशतक है. संजू के भी लगभग बराबर है औसत, उनकी थोड़ी सी कम है. परफॉर्मेंस असाइड, किस तरीके से आप अपनी टीम को आगे बढ़ा के लेके जा रहे हैं, मेरे लिए वो जरूरी है. लीडिंग फ्रॉम द फ्रंट. एक कप्तान, अगर आपको याद हो, बीच में उन्होंने एक मुकाबले में आके 2 ओवर डाले थे, ग्रोइन में दर्द था, अंदर गए थे, 1 ओवर डाला, फिर अंदर गए, फिर वापस आए. वो लीग स्टेज था, बट वो एक उदाहरण अपनी टीम के लिए सेट कर रहे थे कि यार, दर्द में भी ना, जब टीम की जरूरत हो तो आपको आके अपना काम करना जरूरी है. वो आराम से बाहर बैठ सकते थे, लीग फेज है, कोई और आके उनके वो ओवर डाल सकता है, बट इट्स जस्ट सेटिंग द टोन. उदाहरण, वो भूख नजर आ रही थी, वो जुनून नजर आ रहा था अपनी टीम को लीड करने के लिए. और मेरे लिए वो ज्यादा जरूरी है. और कहीं ना कहीं कहते हैं ना, वो हमारे दिल का और सबका ना वो शरारती बच्चा है. और किसी ने सही कहा था, शरारती बच्चे को ना क्लास में मॉनिटर बना दो, पूरी क्लास सुधर जाती है. तो कुछ वैसा ही हुआ उनके साथ भी. तो मैं जो हूँ ना, थोड़ा सा हार्दिक की तरफ हूँ.
मैं समझ रही हूँ आपका ये इशारा. मैं समझ रही हूँ.
वो हमारा नन्हा सा बच्चा है, वो शरारती बच्चा है.
इतने सारे फैक्टर्स हैं वसीम, और दोनों ही टीम्स हमने आंकड़े भी देखे तो काफी इवनली स्टैक्ड है. तो where will this game be won and lost?
Well, I think any team that wins the toss, I don't know. I think they are going to bowl first. मुझे ऐसा लगता है. Probably dew factor होगा because it's very hot and humid in Ahmedabad. But I think in the power play, I feel how you start the game. Every time Shami has taken a wicket, Gujarat have gone on to win the game. So challenge for Rajasthan is to not give any wickets to Shami and don't give them that kickstart. And it's vice versa. I mean, Shubman and Riddhiman Saha, if they start well, any team that starts well on any front, I think will hold an edge because you don't want to be too behind in a game at the start because it's such a short game, 2020. You don't want to be behind and not lose, quite a few wickets up front. तो मुझे लगता है that is going to be very very key. And talking about जो captain का, I feel that Hardik has been exceptional. I mean, if you leave out Hardik from this Gujarat team, I have my doubts whether they'll perform the same way. You cannot say that about Sanju, I feel, because they've got so many performers. But Hardik has played, such a brilliant role in this team. To get them together, the first time they're playing together, Ashish Nehra as a coach, and it's a breath of fresh air. The way Hardik has led. First time he's leading in such a big tournament. First time as a captain. We have not seen him captain any time, whether in state cricket or anywhere. But the way he's led looks like he's a born leader. So I feel he's impressed me immensely. The way he's led his troops throughout the season without getting affected with his performance. First time he's batting at number 4 in IPL. He's never batted at number 4. He's bowled with the new ball. I don't think he's done that for Mumbai Indians. So a lot of boxes has been ticked by Hardik, the way he's led.
So Ashish Nehra, right there with him, I'm sure that has also added a lot of, because we keep seeing Hardik smiling, and that also comes from Mr. Nehra for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, Ashish Nehra, even Gary Kirsten. I mean, all those support staff. They are very relaxed guys. They very. They play with the smile, and you can see there's no tension in the dugout. I mean, sometimes you feel the tension when the game's on the line. You don't want that nervous energy, that negative energy, and you don't feel that with Ashish and Gary Kirsten. That is a big boost. And when you've got captains such as Hardik Pandya, who plays with a smile and who backs you, till the end, that's exactly what you want in that pressure game.
Yeah, Niall, at one side you've got Ashish Nehra, the other you've got Kumar Sangakkara. You couldn't have asked for more contrasting demeanors when you talk about these two gentlemen in two different sides here in the finals.
Yeah, well, Kumar's been around now, and he's part of the Rajasthan kind of family now. But they've also got Trevor Penny, who's he just goes under the radar really. And Trevor's a wonderful coach. Has coached all around the world, West Indies, and many franchises around the world. So Trevor's done a really good job, and I think we have to give a bit of credit to Trevor Penny. So I think Vikram Solanki at Gujarat, a brand new franchise, comes in as director of cricket. Many people would have raised eyebrows at that. In English, all due respect, an English county cricketer did obviously play for England a bit, white ball cricket, but. A county cricketer with a limited coaching background. Vikram Solanki had been in charge of Surrey for, 18 months. To get such a high-profile job, there would have been a lot of people raising eyebrows about that. But obviously, Ashish Nehra knows him very well from his time at Worcestershire and likes what he sees, and obviously gets on well. And the key thing when you've got a new franchise, you've got to just you got to gel quickly because you've got a whole new set of players. And I think Ashish Nehra and Hardik Pandya have been a lovely combination. Before the tournament, I was like, how is Hardik Pandya going to captain? How is he going to manage his kind of like his demeanor, his lifestyle? How is he going to captain? But he is just taken to captaincy like a duck to water. And, you can see with the people like Rashid Khan on your side, when you got great players like that, they're enjoying their cricket. Even someone Matthew Wade, who's had a fairly, quiet tournament, you would think he seems to, be having a good time and enjoying his role. So, it's wonderful to see it, and it's another captaincy option for India. Maybe moving forward in one of the facets of the game.
All right. Well, that is one thing that we'll have to just wait and watch. But having said that, we've got the pitch report here. Simon Dewell has said the bounce here is higher than Kolkata, and it's all about the bounce here. And in his pitch report for Star Sports, he also mentioned the ground is slightly short on one side and slightly bigger on the other. So it's all about the bounce. Now, very quickly, let's take a look at how the batting strike rate for both these teams has been across phases. एक बार नजर डालते हैं batting strike rate पर. निखिल, राजस्थान की तरफ से पावर प्ले में 132.19, फिर 7 to 15th ओवर पे 129.51 और डेथ ओवर पे 175. गुजरात, on the other hand, are fairly lower than Rajasthan.
उसका बहुत बड़ा कारण है ना, क्योंकि जॉस द बॉस जब स्टार्ट करते हैं पावर प्ले में तो फिर वो रुकते नहीं है, फिर तभी उनका डेथ ओवर्स में भी आप देखिए उनके स्ट्राइक रेट वो बढ़ती चली जाती है। लेकिन इधर की तरफ गुजरात की तरफ रिद्धिमान साहा के साथ शुभमन गिल का बल्ला थोड़ा देर वो शांत रहा है, तो वो कॉन्ट्रास्टिंग फर्क जो है ना वो साफ तौर से वो नजर आता है। शुभमन गिल पिछले मुकाबले में रन आउट हो गए थे, रिद्धिमान साहा ने वो कोशिश जरूर की थी, लेकिन औसतन की जब आप बात करें, जब आप देखते हैं तो औसतन में राजस्थान के आंकड़े हमेशा बेहतर नजर आएंगे, क्योंकि वो 4 शतक भी तो लगाए हुए हैं। सर्व्स इट हॉट, वो फर्क पड़ता है ना, व्हेन ही सर्व्स इट हॉट। पर मेरे ख्याल में रिद्धिमान टॉस में शायद कौन जीता,
राजस्थान जीत गया, they opted to bat. They opted to bat.
उसका एक बहुत बड़ा कारण ये है क्योंकि आप जितना पूरा सीजन देख लीजिए ना, उनको वो डिफेंड करना ज्यादा पसंद है। जिस तरीके की उनकी बॉलिंग है वो उनको सूट करती है। आई थिंक गुजरात सारे मुकाबले मतलब औसतन वो चेस करते आए, सो आई थिंक दोनों टीमों को वो करने को मिल गया जो वो चाहती थी। तो नो रियल सरप्राइजेस,
लेकिन गुजरात के पास फिनिशर्स है। हैविंग सेड दैट, यहाँ पे एक स्टैट है कि मोटेरा में नरेंद्र मोदी स्टेडियम में जब भी कोई टीम जीतती है, when they bat first, the score is above 170. तो ये शायद उनको ध्यान में रखना पड़ेगा। 170 का स्कोर अगर आप इसके ऊपर बनाते हैं तब जाके कोई टीम बैटिंग फर्स्ट में जीती है स्टेडियम में। Having said that, वसीम, हम ऑफ कोर्स वो आंकड़े
सॉरी एक बदलाव है, मैं वसीम को बता दूं, एक बदलाव है, शायद अलजारी नहीं खेल रहे, लॉकी वापस आए गुजरात के लिए।
Okay. All right. So Alzari is not there. Lockie Ferguson is there. So how do you see this panning out, Wasim? Rajasthan's won the toss, elected to bat.
I think it makes sense. मुझे ऐसा लगता है because that is what they have done. Even when they've lost tosses, they batted first and they won most of the games. And in such a high pressure game, it's not a bad idea to bat first and look to post a big score. That is what they'll be looking to do. Their batting has come good. They would, want to bat without any pressure. Josh Butler, Sanju Samson, Yashasvi Dev, that the top 4, like I've said time and again, they need to bat the bulk of the overs. If they bat, 13, 14 overs, they're top 4. Then you've got Shimran, you've got Riyan Parag, that they can come and, bat at 4th and 5th gear. But like you have said, they need to score in excess of 170, close to 180, because Gujarat is such a, successful chasing team. Any total, is not beyond them, because they've got different match winners every time and again. So you want to, bat sensibly at the start, but bat aggressively because, you're playing against Gujarat and, any score is beyond them.
Yeah, well, of course, any scores beyond them. Having said that, Rajasthan remains unchanged. One change for Gujarat, that is Alzari Joseph is not there, and you've got Lockie Ferguson in his place, Niall. Now, we took a look at their strike rates across phases, and one thing for Gujarat for sure has been the issue at number 3, where Matthew Wade has been a little disappointing this season. Is that going to trouble them? Because, of course, it's a big stage. Matthew Wade is a big stage player.
Yeah, well, listen, I think he's lucky to have played as many games as he has. To be brutally honest with you, Matthew Wade, I would have had him out of the team after 3 or 4 games. I would have had the Afghanistan keeper Ramanul Gurbaz in very early in the piece. In saying that, Matthew Wade, go back to Dubai not long ago, World Cup, T20 World Cup. He had a cracking encounter against Pakistan. So, smashing the Shine Shah Afridi around. So he is, as you say, a big game player. Aussies generally play well in the big games. Think of something like Shane Watson a few years ago. So it's a chance for Matthew Wade really to right a few wrongs. There's been a lot invested in him. He's got a lot of game time. But that is certainly an area that they can try and expose. Going back to the toss, I'm surprised with that, I must say. Reading a lot of very well-versed people in the cricketing fraternity leading up to this fixture, everyone seemed to think whoever won the toss would bowl first, and the fact that Rajasthan elected to bat, I think that's massive. And actually, I think that's good for Gujarat as well, because it will help them just get into the contest. There are bound to be some nerves for the new franchise. So sometimes get the ball in hand, get into the contest as a team, as opposed to 2 lads walking out of bat. So I think that's. I'm not going to stick my neck on the line and say it's a mistake, but I'm going to hedge my bets and say I wouldn't have done that.
All right, in your response, Sanju Samson has said, it is a used wicket. We're playing the second game here and looks dry. Everyone is very positive and excited to play the Indian T20 League final in front of this fabulous crowd. Here's hoping he's made the right decision, and only time will tell as this mystery unfolds. Now, very quickly, from the strike rate, let's take a look at the economy across phases for both these teams. एक बार इन नंबर्स पर नजर डालते हैं निखिल येट अगेन. अगर हम इकोनॉमी की बात करें तो राजस्थान की तरफ से पावर प्ले में 7.42, दूसरी तरफ गुजरात 7.71. 7 to 15 में अगेन राजस्थान 8.40, गुजरात 8.23. लेकिन डेथ ओवर्स में राजस्थान 11.13 और गुजरात 9.73.
फर्क है, अनुभव का फर्क है. डेथ ओवर्स ऊपर में आप देख लीजिए, शायद राजस्थान की वो स्ट्राइक रेट इन टर्म्स ऑफ विकेट्स लेना ना वो ज्यादा होगा क्योंकि ट्रेंट बोल्ट और प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा विकेट निकाल रहे हैं. लेकिन गेम को खत्म करने के लिए ट्रेंट बोल्ट अंतिम क्षणों में आके गेंदबाजी नहीं करते. वो हमेशा बीच में अपने ओवर खत्म कर लेते हैं. बिल फटता प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा के ऊपर. पिछले मुकाबले में भी देखिए प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा वो थोड़े से महंगे साबित हुए थे. जब पिछला मुकाबला मिलर ने उनको आखिरी ओवर में वो छक्के लगाए थे. लेकिन इधर गुजरात के लिए आपके पास शमी गेंदबाजी करते हैं, अगर लौकी अंत में आके गेंदबाजी करते हैं तो अनुभव ज्यादा है डेथ ओवर्स में. ये फर्क है. और स्टार्ट में अगर शमी का बॉल थोड़ा सा लहराता है, उसके साथ साथ बीच में राशिद खान आके विकेट चटकाते हैं, वो इकोनॉमी से ज्यादा जरूरी इतने बड़े मुकाबले में रिदमा वो स्ट्राइक रेट बतौर गेंदबाज का ना वो फर्क करता है. नया बॉल ट्रेंट बॉल का पहले 2 ओवर में अगर वो विकेट चटका देते ना तो समझ लीजिए कि आपने वो दबाव बना के मुकाबला पकड़ लिया. अगर नया बॉल से ट्रेंट बॉल, क्योंकि जो उनकी ताकत है, नया बॉल को आप विकेट नहीं चटकाएंगे तो फिर वो स्ट्राइक रेट जो एवरेज रन स्कोर है वो बढ़ता चला जाएगा. आप उसको तभी कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं जब आप विकेट्स लेते हैं. और शायद तभी डेथ ओवर्स में दूसरी तरफ गुजरात विद देयर बॉलिंग एक्सपीरियंस वो थोड़ा सा बेहतर नजर आ रहा है.
जी बिल्कुल. All right, now that we set the stage, अब जब हमने तवा गरम किया है, अब वक्त आ गया कि आगे बढ़े, अब प्रॉपर कुकिंग करें. इसलिए हम आपको कुछ और आंकड़े दिखाएंगे. This is numbers tracker powered by sky247.net. चलिए, सबसे पहले 2 बड़े नाम जिन पर आज नजर होगी वो है राशिद खान और युजवेंद्र चहल. आइए इनके आंकड़े दिखाते हैं कि फर्स्ट 10 मैचेस और लास्ट 5 में इन दोनों ने कैसा परफॉर्म किया है. वसीम, अगर हम इन आंकड़ों को देखें तो आप देखेंगे कि राशिद लास्ट 5 द कर्व हैज गॉन अपवर्ड, whereas Chahal on the other hand, it has not been that case for Chahal. Rashid has actually done better as the Indian T20 League proceeded.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. एंड आई थिंक शायद आज मे भी हार्दिक राशिद को आज किस तरह से यूज करते हैं ये भी थोड़ा सा इंटरेस्टिंग होगा. आई मीन युजवेंद्र चहल इससे पहले हमने उनको कई मर्तबा नहीं देखा कि डेथ में बॉलिंग करते, बट ही हैज बीन ब्रिलियंट. ही हैज गॉट द मोस्ट विकेट्स in the death. I think he's got close to 14 wickets if I'm not wrong in the death. But that hat trick he took against KKR, वो game changing moment था. But Rashid hasn't bowled that many overs in the death if I'm right. But today मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि शायद again Josh Butler, because they've got so many bowling options, they've got 6 bowling options. Sometimes you want, you are tempted to bowl Rashid Khan probably when Josh Butler at his best, power play में, या maybe at the death, क्योंकि जब आप उनको बीच में bowling डलवाते हो, they play him out, they don't take that many risks. So when the batters are going against him, जब थोड़ा सा aggressive खेलते हैं, that is where he's got chance of picking up wickets and turning the game on the head. So that is something which probably, Hardik, we might see that today because they've got so many bowling options. Yajvindra Chahal has been brilliant, but thoda sa ye jo qualifier and eliminator jo hua hai, he is not at his best. He's been expensive. He's got only 1 wicket. Yajvindra Chahal and Ashwin has only picked up 1 wicket in those 2 games. So that is where they need to step up. They've done well with McCoy के आने से. और वो जो हमने जो डेथ बॉलिंग देखी है, दैट इज द रीजन क्योंकि प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा हैज बीन एक्सपेंसिव, बट जब से उबैद मैकॉय आए हैं दे हैव डन ओके बिकॉज़ ट्रेंट बोल्ट डजंट bowl in the death, whereas Gujarat has got so many options in the death, and that is the reason why they've done so well in the death. So Yajwinder Chahal, I feel, has just need to step up with Rajasthan, or the conditions might not be at his best. जब Yajwinder Chahal और Ashwin bowling करेंगे, you might see a dew. The ball might not spin क्योंकि शायद हो सकता है कि dew पड़े. But they have to be at their best. If Rajasthan has to win this game in the second half.
Yeah, well, Niall, we spoke about, Wasim's mentioned Joss Butler versus Rashid. Now, this is always a contest where Rashid has had actually an upper hand, where he's dismissed Joss Butler a couple of times. And teams have had a strategy against the man. They just go run a ball, because whenever the opposition goes for bigger shots, Rashid manages to get a wicket. Here are some numbers. Butler versus Gujarat's best seamer and spinner, Shami versus Rashid. How do you see this battle panning out?
Yeah, well, Shami is a wonderful exponent with the new ball. He could easily bowl 3 in the power play. If he can stand that seam up nicely, he is a real expert with that new rock in hand. And he bowls, the old test match length, top of the off stump, doesn't really vary it too much, doesn't bowl too many short balls. So he tries to hit the top of the off stump and tries to nick batters off, maybe just move it off the seam a little bit. And that's where Joss Butler can be vulnerable, just in and around that outside the off stump, almost test match kind of line and length. Rashid Khan, as you mentioned, he has had the upper hand over Joss in various formats of the game. I would give him a crack at Joss Butler very early in the power play, because he has openly spoken, in the UK press when he's been playing for England. He has openly said he doesn't pick Rashid Khan. Now, whether he's playing kidology or not, I don't know, but the facts his comments would be backed up by the stats. So, if I'm Rashid Khan, I would be in my captain's ear there, right in the mouth. Give me a crack at Joss Butler. Let me shape this contest at the outset. Why wait? Why wait potentially 6 overs to bring him on maybe in the middle period? Absolutely. Get your trump card in. For Gujarat, they've got 2 trump cards with the ball really in Shami and Rashid Khan. Most teams play Rashid Khan out. They say if you can get 24 or 26 runs and he gets 1 wicket, that's a great result. Yes, but Rashid Khan, he likes wickets. He'll be hunting for wickets.
Indeed, and making a strong case for himself to open with him in front of Samson. All right, let's take a look at the other key battle that we have, which is Rashid versus Samson Hetmyer. So here we've got Rashid's battle with key men, of course, in Rajasthan's top and middle order. Now, Nikhil, how does this battle pan out? As we can see, Rashid has managed to get Hetmyer out 4 times, Samson once.
उसका बहुत बड़ा कारण यह है, संजू सैमसन सफल राशिद खान के खिलाफ रिद्धिमा इसलिए होते हैं क्योंकि वो सामने मारने को देखते हैं. जो ताकत है संजू सैमसन की, जब वो छक्के मारने को देखते हैं, वो सामने मारने को देखते हैं. वो सीधा फेस रहता है बैट का. एंड जब हेटमायर बड़ी हिट मारने को देखते हैं, ही इज ट्राइंग टू पेपर लॉन्ग ऑन से डीप मिड विकेट. ही इज ट्राइंग टू गो अगेंस्ट द स्पिन, क्योंकि राशिद खान उनको गुगली डालते हैं और चौथे स्टंप पे, वो ऑफ स्टंप पे तो वो योजना है. अगर शिमरन हेटमायर उनको वो लॉन्ग ऑफ से लेके कवर्स की तरफ मारने लग जाएंगे तो वो आंकड़े बदल जाएंगे. सो इट्स अबाउट योर प्लान्स एंड हाउ वेल he has been able to execute those plans against Shimron Hetmyer. But Sanju Samson's numbers against Rashid Khan are better because he looks to go straight, full face of the bat, and he reads them out of the hand a little better as well. लेकिन आज वो कहते हैं ना, अंतिम मुकाबले के लिए you need to change your game as well, because the opposition comes with that plan knowing what your strength or what your targeted areas are. Now Rashid Khan will be looking to bowl to him off stump or just outside the off stump with the googlies. He has to learn to start hitting the ball inside out over covers and long off, just to make sure that Rashid is forced to change his plans. Then he'll be forced to bowl to his strength. तो ये नोक जोक जो चलती है ना, ये बड़ा मजेदार रहता है भाई. ये भी चेस का गेम होता है.
ये भी शतरंज का एक गेम है. But Wasim, where you've got, of course, we've spoken about Rashid and Butler. From the other hand, for Gujarat, you've got Miller. Now, the saying is, till Miller's there in the ground, the game is not over. And if it's in his arc, it's out of the park. How do we stop this man? What could be the plan? Because he's done well against spin as well.
I think he's played spin really, really well this season. I think when he was at Punjab a few years back, there were question marks. But this season has been a revolution. Whether it's pace, whether it's spin, he's only got out. Very hardly we've seen him get out to spin, and he's finished games, and that is something which is incredible. He's got tremendous strike rate, both against pace and spin. His average is wonderful. Against spin, he's averaging 96, and it's 13 sixes. So, Ash and Chahal have a task cut out against, David Miller and even Tewatia, for that matter. Because this game will go to the wire. And David Miller is in form, and the way he's playing spin, it's not going to be easy for Rajasthan.
Right. All right, let's take a look at some more numbers for Miller. अगर Miller के against क्या game plan use कर सकते हैं? So we've got some numbers here. Miller, Chahal and Ashwin. Let's take a look at these numbers. All right, now we've got Chahal and Ashwin versus Miller. Now, 3 times and twice they've got they've got him dismissed. But well, the strike rate is also 152 and 104.
Yeah, well, strike rate obviously is good against Chahal, and Ashwin's had a pretty good time against David Miller. But the way David Miller is playing at the moment, and the way, as we've already mentioned, the way Rajasthan spinners are kind of declining in this tournament as such, I would be very surprised if those numbers are replicated tonight. And for David Miller, knowing the character that he is, everyone just thinks of all the hundreds and the massive innings, the massive hits. He is definitely a character that feeds off, positive energy and a nice environment, a good environment, and someone's going to back him. And he's definitely got that, and he's probably got the perfect captain in Hardik Pandya, just to say, mate, go out and hit the ball out of the ground. Don't worry if you get out stumped. Don't worry if you sky one in the air. And I think David Miller has been a victim of his own success because when you play the way he played years and years ago, every time you walk out of bat, everyone expects you to do the same thing, and it's near on impossible. So we saw David Miller kind of get lost in the system, as it were, for a couple of years, but he's bounced back nicely, and he's a tremendous person, David Miller. He's a lovely guy, great team man, and I'm delighted for him. Actually, he's found a new home and he's found success under a new leadership group.
रिद्धिमा एक बारी वो आंकड़े दोबारा दिखाएंगे आपको, बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है।
हाँ, एक बार दिखा दें।
डेविड मिलर के जो रहस्य है वो चहल के खिलाफ इतने अच्छे क्यों हैं? क्योंकि स्ट्राइक रेट देखें 152 का है चहल के खिलाफ, चाहे औसत कम हो, पर वो उनको छक्के मारने में वो कोशिश करते हैं कि वो स्टंप्स की गेंद हो, क्योंकि ज्यादा गुगली नहीं डालते चहल। अश्विन के खिलाफ अश्विन का जो टप्पा है वो राउंड द विकेट आके वो ऑफ स्टंप पे गेंद पकड़ के डालते, थोड़ा सा दूर रखने को देखते हैं, उनके पाले में नहीं आते। अगर आप अश्विन की गेंदबाजी देखेंगे मिलर के खिलाफ तो 90% गेंदें जो रहती है ना वो थोड़ी सी दूर रखते हैं ऑफ स्टंप के बाहर, वहां से हिट लगाना थोड़ा सा मुश्किल हो जाता है। लेकिन चहल ने उनको आउट भी किया है, लेकिन चहल के खिलाफ हिट इसलिए लग जाती है क्योंकि जब वो धीरे वाली गेंद डालते हैं ना थोड़ी आगे मिलती है, वो गुगली नहीं डालते, तो वो विद स्पिन मारने में मतलब उनके आंख में गेंद रहती है, तो इसीलिए रविचंद्रन अश्विन हमेशा खतरनाक एक गेंदबाज है मिलर के खिलाफ।
जी बिल्कुल। वसीम?
Yeah, I think one important point, Ridhima, I feel that he's changed in his game. Last few years, every time you see David Miller against spin, you would see him sweeping the ball, and that is not what he's done this season. He's looked to hit straight, and that is a big change. I mean, he's got confident. He could come out and hit the spinners straight. And when somebody do that, especially a foreign batter to an Indian spinner, that is, hard work. Because every time somebody sweeps, that he's got a tangled mind. He can't defend, he can't score, he can't get a single. And that is something which I've seen a different change in David Miller. And that is something which is refreshing to see. He's got confidence, he can come out and hit sixes. And when somebody does that, then you've got not many options as a bowler. So that is something which I feel is a big change in David Miller of before to now.
Yeah. All right. So Miller for sure is going to be a big deciding factor in this match. Very quickly, let's shift gears from numbers tracker to our social tracker. Let's see what social media is saying. This is Social Tracker powered by Sky247.net. Okay, all right. Let's take a look at the first tweet. It's of the Guinness record that we were talking about. The world's largest jersey was unveiled ahead of this high voltage IPL 2022 final between Gujarat Titans and Rajasthan Royals. It's Quite a day chosen for the same. All right, next one. Let's take a look at the next one. Once again, Crick Tracker, 100K plus crowd in Ahmedabad. And we've got a tweet by VVS Lakshman, my first visit here. And what an electrifying atmosphere. I wish we could all be there. But where are you right now, Nikhil?
Me?
हाँ आप कहाँ हैं?
मैं अभी मुंबई में, यहाँ स्टूडियो में. आप बस कुछ देर में हमारी वाणी में सुनेंगे.
Correct, यश आप स्टूडियो से कमेंट्री कर रहे हैं. All right, let's take a look at the next one. What do we got next here? Okay, once again, Crick Tracker, high energy levels when never. All right, that's a huge superstar of Bollywood, by the way, Niall, and he's all about extreme colors. He's a bit eccentric. He's like the Lady Gaga of India when it comes to.
Nicely put. I'm going to tell him next time I see him.
When it comes to dressing, he's like that, and he's caused when he's in the house, high voltage levels for sure. All right, next one. Let's take a look at what we've got next. All right, champions by the Indian Premier League Twitter handle. Congratulations to Team Supernovas, the winner of My 11 Circle version 2022. Oh, what on this, Nikhil? What a championship it has been.
अद्भुत. मैं तो कहता हूँ ये पूरा सीजन जो रहा है वो अद्भुत रहा है. अनबिलीवेबल. मैं तो इंतजार ही कर रहा हूँ बस ये फटाफट से स्टार्ट हो रिद्धिमा. फिर मजा आएगा ना. फिर पोस्ट में मजा करने की बात आएगी. ये मुकाबला भी वो अंतिम आखिरी गेंद तक गया था. मुझे तो लगा कि वो जिस तरीके से विकेट वो गिर रही थी कि ये एक तरफ हो गया, सुपरनोवा आसानी से जीत जाएगी. लेकिन उसके बाद ये लॉरा वुल्फा ने जो बल्लेबाजी की है 65 रन अद्भुत. और फिर सिमरन बहादुर जो दिल्ली की है उन्होंने जो छक्के लगाए हैं 10 गेंदों में 20, वो एक जीत की ना सूंग उनको मिली थी. बट इनक्रेडिबल. पर एक खिलाड़ी इसमें सुपरनोवाज अंत में जीत गई. मैं आपको बताता हूँ एक खिलाड़ी इनमें ना आने वाले समय में ये भारत का नाम विश्व भर में रोशन करेंगी और वो है किरण नवग्रे. वो खिलाड़ी जो है वो अद्भुत स्ट्राइकिंग है. उन्होंने जो इससे पिछले मुकाबले में वो अर्धशतक लगाया था, इनक्रेडिबल. और उनके पिताजी ने उनको रिक्वेस्ट की थी कि वो नेशनल लेवल जैवलिन थ्रोअर भी हैं कि आप क्रिकेट खेलिए. और उन्होंने वो मेडल्स भी जीते. उसके बाद उनको क्रिकेट खेलने का मौका मिला और उसके बाद पीछे मुड़ के नहीं देखी. तो मेरे लिए जो वो इनिंग देखी थी ना, हम कहते हैं कि वो छक्के लगते हैं कि आप सिर्फ सीमा रेखा को पार कराते हैं. वो बल्लेबाजी कर रही थी, वो स्टैंड में छक्के मार रही थी. So incredible striking. So God bless her. So I wish her all the best and hopefully मेरी भविष्यवाणी सच हो.
Fingers crossed. Well, Niall, women's IPL next year. Of course, we've been saying the way women have been saying. I mean, with women's IPL coming in next year, what are the expectations? I mean, in India, everybody's super excited. We saw that big poster also that was making the rounds across social media. What is the word outside of the country, though?
Yeah, listen, everyone's really up for it. There's just go back a few months, that the 50 over World Cup in New Zealand, it was incredible tournament. I was working with Nasser Hussain yesterday and we were just chatting about that tournament in New Zealand. Brilliant advertisement for the women's game. In the UK, the game is growing massively. Australia, the game is huge all over the world. So it's crying out for it, to be fair. And hopefully it happens next year because, these players deserve to be able to showcase their skills in front of the world stage because, the talent coming through, the growth in the game is remarkable. My biggest plus point for the women's game at the moment actually is, the growth outside of the Test nations. I'm obviously a big advocate of the associate nations, coming from Ireland where I played most of my cricket as an associate member. There are some brilliant women's international players from the likes of Scotland, etc., and the Netherlands, where I'm in Amsterdam at the moment. It's quality cricketers, so all over the world. And I hope, fingers crossed, if this tournament happens next year for the women's game, that the franchises look beyond just the so-called bigger nations, because that's the one thing I would say in the men's tournament that's been a little bit lacking. Some of the franchises haven't looked at the talent outside the bigger nations pool, because there is unbelievable cricketers all around the globe that could do a good job, both in the men's tournament and in the women's tournament, all being well next season.
Yeah, I mean,
and, sorry, Ridhima, विमेंस क्रिकेट के लिए इस किस्म की ना प्रतियोगिता वो तैयारी है, हमारे पास वो खिलाड़ी हैं जो हु कैन कम एंड एंटरटेन और विद बैट बॉलिंग स्किल्स। और मजे की बात ये, वो बिग बैश लीग में हरमनप्रीत, वो शी
Yeah.
वाज द स्टार परफॉर्मर, वुमेन प्लेयर ऑफ द इंटायर टूर्नामेंट। तो भारतीय नारी सब पे पड़ेगी भारी। आप स्टार्ट तो कराइए, देखिए तो सही।
It's high time. It's really high time. And, the kind of course, response that women's cricket has been getting is also incredible. Before the pandemic, when I was hosting the World T20, women's T20 in Australia and Melbourne, it saw 85,000 people in numbers, which was the largest audience ever for any women's game. So women's cricket is being supported across the world. It's high time we had a women's IPL. All right, with that, very quickly, Divya, thanks to social media because of getting this buzz out. And here it is, we're having the women's IPL. With that, let's shift gears from the social tracker to our fantasy tracker, powered by Sky247.net. ओके ऑल राइट। सो बिकॉज आज फाइनल्स है तो हम कुछ अलग करेंगे। आज हम फैंटेसी टीम आपको सिर्फ मैच का नहीं दिखाएंगे, आज है फैंटेसी टीम थ्रू आउट टूर्नामेंट का, पूरे टूर्नामेंट की फैंटेसी टीम है। सबसे पहले वसीम सर की टीम, देखते हैं वसीम सर ने क्या टीम बनाई है इस टूर्नामेंट की। ऑलराइट सर, प्लीज टेक मी थ्रू दिस। यू गॉट अ कैप्टन इज हार्दिक पांड्या। ओह नाइस।
Yeah, I've been hugely impressed with Hardik's captainship. So no surprise that he's captain of my team. Joss and KL to open. Sanju Samson at 3, Hardik at 4, Liam Livingston, he's at 5, David Miller at 6, Dinesh Karthik is my wicketkeeper, Harshal Patel, Mohammad Shami, those are my 2 seamers, and Hasaranga and Yajwinder Chahal are my 2 spinners. So we've got Liam Livingston, Liam Livingston and Hardik Pandya are my 2 bowlers, and then Ashish Nehra, the man of the moment, is the coach of my team.
All I can tell you is that this team is going to be all smiles. All right, with that, let's take a look at Nikhil's team. What's the team that Nikhil's made? Tell me. Captain Hardik Pandya again.
जी लगभग बराबर है। मैं बताया ना, वो मेरा फेवरेट वो शरारती बच्चा है, तो वो तो कप्तान होना ही था। जॉस बटलर, केएल राहुल, त्रिपाठी मेरी टीम में है 3 नंबर पे आके बल्लेबाजी करने के लिए। मिलर, दिनेश कार्तिक, रसल द मसल, भाई इनका बल्ला जब चलता है ना तो अंत में वो फिर छक्के रुकते नहीं है। राशिद खान, फिर अर्शदीप डेथ बॉलिंग, मोहम्मद शमी, यूजी चहल, और हमारे अपने नेहरा जी टीम को संभालेंगे। थोड़ा सा वो ड्रेसिंग रूम का माहौल बढ़िया भी तो रखना है। टू गेट द बेस्ट आउट ऑफ द प्लेयर्स यू नीड मिस्टर नेहरा इन द ड्रेसिंग रूम।
Indeed you do. All right, very quickly, Niall, tell me about your team.
Oh yeah, lovely. Well, yeah,
oh my God, again. All right.
I know. Listen, the big thing for me, I've only got 3 overseas players. I could have had 4. I know, Patidar has come in late in the tournament, but he's just been an absolute revelation. So I've got him in there. I'm really impressed with Umar Malik. He's got some real wheels. Hasaranga, the spin department was difficult really, but Hasaranga has just been exceptional. And I've got Sanju, obviously, and Hardik is going to be my captain. And yeah, it's a full house for Mr. Nehra.
Indeed it is. Well, what can I say? Hardik Pandya has managed to woo our experts as well. With that, let's take a look at the predictions now, very quickly. Who do you think is going to win this one? I'll start with you, Niall. Go for it. Rajasthan or Gujarat? Who's winning the title?
I've gone for I went for Rajasthan early in the tournament. I had Butler as top run scorer, Chahal as top wicket taker, and Rajasthan. So I'd be a disgraceful human being if I changed my mind now. As much as I kind of want to jump ship, but I'm going to stick with Rajasthan.
Rajasthan. Okay, all right, Wasim.
I'm actually going for the underdogs, to be honest. Rajasthan, I feel, are the underdogs. Gujarat are the favorites. They're playing at their home ground. They'll have all the support. So I'm going for the underdogs, actually, Rajasthan. I think, I feel, they are up for it.
All right, we've got 2 people voting here for Rajasthan. Nikhil, who are you voting for?
देखिए, जॉस द बॉस अगर वो गुजराती थाली लेके भाग नहीं जाते ना, तो गुजराती थाली विद दैट अफगान जलेबी तड़का, आई वुड बैक देम। क्योंकि किसी ने रिदमा सही कहा है, जो पानी में भीगता है वो सिर्फ लिबास बदलता है, लेकिन जो मेहनत के पसीने में भीगता है वो इतिहास बदलता है।
Okay, all right. On that note, well, all right. So the three of you are going for Rajasthan. Nikhil has an if and but there. अगर जॉस बटलर नहीं
No,
परफॉर्म करे
हाँ.
गुजरात है, वरना फिर राजस्थान है अगर बटलर ने परफॉर्म कर दिया. देखिए, the question is who's going to go for that crown and who will be the talk of the town. That is the question, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you कि हमने 2 पोल्स किए थे. एक बार जल्दी से आपको पोल्स भी दिखा दें और वो रिजल्ट भी दिखा दें. Poll जो हमारा था was how will the packed home crowd act for Gujarat? The added advantage 70%, extra pressure 30%. So 30% people feel that this would be might act as an extra pressure. All right, next poll. Let's take a look at the next poll that we have. All right. All right, so we'll let that poll be right now. We'll just go with this one. And very quickly, Nikhil, added advantage or extra pressure? आप तो वैसे भी राजस्थान का
Advantage. गुजरात एडवांटेज. 1,32,000 का शोर जो है ना वो इट्स अनबिलीवेबल. आई प्लेड इन 90,000 क्राउड ईडन गार्डन में रोंगटे खड़े हो जाते हैं.
देखिए रोंगटे खड़े होने वाले हैं बिकॉज सबके होने वाले हैं बिकॉज जिस तरीके का ऑडियंस है, जिस तरीके का नंबर है वहां पर एट द नरेंद्र मोदी स्टेडियम इन अहमदाबाद, इट्स गोइंग टू गिव यू गूज़बम्प्स फॉर श्योर. थैंक यू सो मच जेंटलमैन. थैंक्स अ लॉट फॉर जॉइनिंग इन. थैंक्स नाइल. थैंक यू वसीम सर. Thank you, Nikhil. With that, the match has started. It's kicked off. What are we waiting for? Let's head straight away to Ahmedabad to find out who is going to be the winner and the title holder of the Indian T20 League 2022. Let's watch as the mystery unfolds.